Hey everybody. So it's been about 18 months since I originally published a video on the channel. In fact, it was literally our first video about how we built out the Jeep for overlanding with our two golden retrievers, Cooper and Kaya. And it's kind of bothered me over the months a little bit because a lot of people check out that video. I still get a lot of questions on it in terms of how we outfitted the vehicle for overlanding. And that video, at the time we created it, that was the best. I think that was the best build we could come up with at the time. And it's still a phenomenal build looking back. But we have made some changes, though, and that's what bothers me. The changes we've made over the last 18 months to try and improve our experience, to make things more efficient, to lighten the Jeep up, and just set it up even better. You know, better things come out. We learn new things. We've made some changes, and I keep wanting to tell people, hey, that's the way we did it then, but we've since made changes, because we get questions on the roof rack changes, we get questions on the spare tire, we get questions on a lot of different things, and I addressed them one at a time. But I thought it was a good time after 18 months just to put together a video to get you guys all up to date on how the Jeep is outfitted today. You guys may remember in the first video, we went with the game changer solution from Metal Cloak. And since that time, we recently have upgraded to the full long arm suspension under the Jeep. Why did we do this? Not only did we do the long arm suspension, but we've also upgraded to the black shocks, which are a really good solution for us. And you can see the black shocks back here as well. By the way, there's a video on the long arm installation and black shock installation. I'll post a link to that goes into more detail on this. But in a nutshell, the reason we made this change is because we don't just rock crawl. We do a lot of overlanding, and we're in the desert sometimes, and we're trying to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, and those roads are rough. So this was really to try and smooth that out, take the edge off. Go watch the video, because this modification is not for everybody. It's not easy to do. And it's a heck of a commitment. Once you go this route, you can't go back. Game changer with the Rocksport red shocks was an incredible setup for the price, the capability. The articulation was actually, I think, better with that because the shocks just support more travel. But again, we don't just rock crawl, and that's why we made that change. Now let's talk about the steering. The steering is the same way it always was. We haven't made any changes. We're still using the Metal Cloak HD steering and their track bars, and it has performed phenomenal for us. We're not using any kind of a hydro assist or anything like that. Now, does it get hard to steer when we're aired down to like 6 psi or 12 psi in incredibly rocky situations where the tires might get trapped or something? Sure it does, but that's for anything. Now, would we do a hydro assist for that purpose? I don't think so, because again, we're just not in those predicaments very often, right? We do rock crawl, we do end up there sometimes, but we can usually manage. And hydro assist is a really big commitment, so we haven't gone that route yet. And so steering, still the same setup that we had from the very beginning. Something else that I absolutely have to mention on the suspension is, as I stated, we went with the 3.5-inch game changer originally. And if you watch some of my older videos, you'll note that in the rear, when we are fully loaded with everything for overlanding, we were squatting in the back, and we were getting some rubbing on the back. You can see on the pinch seam here, we were getting some rubbing. We were also getting rubbing in the fender liner. And so we've addressed that in two ways. One is, you can see we've clearly gone with a different set of fenders. We're using the Metal Cloak tubular fenders, and these are the aluminum version to keep the weight down. And we're also using their inner fender liners as well, both front and rear. As you can see here, I've added a second bump stop back into the suspension to address the rub at the pinch seam, and I've gone to a 4.5-inch lift spring to address the squat in the rear. I do have a video you can check out about fixing the squat. So we're still using the 3.5-inch spring in the front, but in the back we've upped that to a 4.5-inch spring. Now we're going to be testing this for a while to see how things go, and if we still have rubbing, I'll probably try out the 5.5-inch spring to get that rear end lifted up when we're fully loaded. Now, shout out to the guys who have commented on the channel about using airbags or other solutions other than just springs. I really appreciate you guys chiming in and providing us with that kind of input. That's really valuable. But I'm trying to keep things as simple as possible with the build, and if I can resolve this problem with just springs, that's what I want to try to do first. And if we can't get there, then we'll move to the next step of something like airbags. But I'm trying to avoid adding anything that creates more components, additional complexity, anything like that, and see if we can solve our problem. Now, we also made an additional change here, which is a vent on the side. And the reason I did this is because the plastic vent just did not follow the contour very well of the metal cloak fender. So that's not a must-have. That's just me being anal about the way things look. From the very beginning, we were using the Method bead grip technology. I believe these are the 701s. I'll put it in the comments somewhere here. But guys, I gotta tell you, I love these wheels. We didn't want to do a beadlock wheel because of, well, it was cost, it was weight, it was you know, tire shops not wanting to deal with the beadlock wheel. And so this bead grip has served us incredibly well. Snow wheeling in the wintertime, down to 3 psi. We've, knock on wood, been really lucky with these. Now with the Milestar Patagonia tire, this is our second set of these, and the second set didn't work out quite as good as the first one. I mean, they balanced out, but the road force balancer, it took some effort, and we finally got them running really good. The first set treated us incredibly well, so I went back to it again. I really kind of wish we would have tried the Nitto Trail Grappler this time, and we may do that in the future. We'll see how it goes. The one thing we did change is, you'll see we did install the Apex valves. And that's different from the original build. The reason we did that is we wanted to improve the amount of time it took to air down and shorten the time that it takes to do that. And it's been really good. Now, I have to say, it was a bit of a pain in the beginning. We took those to the tire shop. They said they could install them. They installed them. None of my TPMS sensors would work. And since then, we actually did take them to another shop, another tire shop. Shout out to my buddy Carlos in Placerville. He was able to get those TPMS sensors working no problem. But there's a process you need to go through. And if the tire shop doesn't do that right and help you do it right, you're going to run into an issue. And so it just really they need to know what they're doing at the end of the day. They just need to know what they're doing. Something else on the exterior that's worked out for us really well that we continue to use to this day are the metal cloak hinge steps. These are fantastic for getting up and down on top of the Jeep, cleaning the top of the Jeep. When the Jeep is really tall, it's kind of hard to get up there, and these have been clutch. Now, people have asked, why do you have the ones on the front? And originally, you guys may remember, we had a roof rack that also had a catwalk that went across the front of the Jeep. And when we store stuff on top, I could actually use the front one here to climb up and down onto that catwalk and get up on top of the Jeep. And that was very useful. And the reason I leave them there is because, frankly, it still helps me clean the roof at the front of the Jeep. I know that's silly, but I don't see a reason to take them off if I'm still using them and stepping on them. So I do have them front and rear. Let's talk bumpers for a little bit. Now on the front, you'll see nothing really has changed. We're still using the metal cloak bumper and the end caps here so that I can house my fog lamps. And we're still using the same Warn winch, the same Factor 55 flat link, and we still have our Baja Designs LP6 lights. There was one change that I want to point out here on the LP6s. We did swap the clear lens. Let me see if I can get this off. And by the way, this is one of my gripes right here with the LP6s, is that when you're trying to take these off, you have to be really careful, because I've actually broken some of these in trying to get them off. And the way they clip on is a bit tough, and in cold weather, in fact, you could see this one, I think, does already have a crack in it somewhere, but you just have to be really careful. Now, the change I made was I swapped out the clear lens for the amber lens. Originally, I had the clear lens and I had amber caps like this that I could just pop on, but we never ever used the lights with clear lenses, ever. I just never did it, because the amber is so much better when we're in fog, when we're in dust. And so I swapped those out, and I still use the covers to protect this lens from rock chips and things like that when we're, you know, when we're not actually overlanding or we need the lights. But that is the only change we've made up here on the front bumper. Now, the back bumper is a slightly different story. We did make a change here, and it's a major one. We originally had the Metal Cloak full width rear bumper, and it was phenomenal. The ground clearance was great, the departure angle was great, but the problem we had was it was a balance between how we carry our spare tire and the bumper itself, and therein lies the issue. When you're using the Metal Cloak rear bumper, there's no way to carry the tire on the bumper, and we were really struggling to find a way to carry the spare tire on the back door with a hinge that could support the tire and the other things that we wanted to carry. As you can see, we've got a basket up here. We use this to carry our diesel heater. Sometimes we put firewood in here. We've got, to support that diesel heater, we will carry a roto pack here with nothing but diesel in it to be able to provide fuel for that diesel heater. And then on the other side, one of the things that we have is a place to put our tools, right? So it's specifically a shovel and an axe. And these are accessories that come with this particular bumper and spare tire carrier from LOD. Now, there's also a place to put backup lights, and I use these. I don't put these on the reverse switch. I actually have these on auxiliary switch because I don't want to use them all the time and blind people. We used to use the Metal Cloak full width rear bumper along with the TerraFlex HD Alpha HD tire carrier here, a hinge and tire carrier. It's a combination hinge and tire carrier, which replaced the hinge. Now, I need to point out, this Jeep was Extreme Recon package, which came with a heavy duty hinge. That hinge could carry the tire, but it struggled, and it just wasn't strong enough to carry anything else. No additional accessories at all. That was a problem. Now, you can go back and watch the bumper video. I'll put a link to that too. But if you look very closely, you'll see a chip in the paint right here on the bottom of the door, right there. And the reason that chip is there is when we were using the Metal Cloak bumper and the Alpha HD tire carrier, there was a bolt that sat right in this area, and the body would flex enough, the body tub would flex enough versus the frame that would hit the bolt if we were sitting a little bit twisted up in the suspension and parked in a weird way. That is one of the reasons we were trying to get the weight off the door and put it more on the bumper instead. Now, I want to be clear. There is no perfect solution back here that we have found. As I mentioned, you know, we've switched to this LOD bumper to be able to carry all this weight, but it's not perfect either. Something that I miss about the Metal Cloak bumper was just the clearance, the departure angle. As you can see here, this bumper is very bulky. It's very thick, and you know, your departure angle, you're gonna hit this. That's one thing that I'm not super fond of, and it's been great for us so far. And you know what? That's kind of what the bumper is for. It's there to take a beating if you need it to. Now, this bumper also replaces the stock 2-inch receiver hitch, right? Because now this is part of the bumper, and so you have to remove your stock one. And the other thing that kind of I don't like is the way that this plug hangs down. And frankly, I'm going to be removing that. What I'll be doing is cutting the wires, putting in a weather pack connector at a different location, and we'll remove this entirely so that we don't actually have it hanging down, because eventually that's going to get crushed. I guarantee it, especially the way we drive and the ledges that we come off of. Now, something really cool about the bumper is the ability to house these flush mount Baja design lights that we can use for backing up. That is really cool because, let's face it, the stock lights on the Jeep JLU, the reverse lights are so dim, they just are worthless. So far, this has worked out for us really, really well. It's given us a place, as I mentioned, to carry things in a basket up above. Basket's not perfect, not ideal. Shape and size could be better. It's given us a place to actually store fuel and carry fuel for that diesel heater in the wintertime. In the summertime, when I'm not using it, I could literally just take this off and not use it. But again, those are kind of the options. So you guys, just the key change here was moving the spare tire off of the back door onto the bumper and getting rid of the hinge solutions that we had before and moving to the LOD. Now this is the LOD Destroyer full width rear bumper and spare tire carrier. And you can see it's basically, I have a video on this along with explaining the bearing, everything and how this thing works all together. So I'll put a link to that down below as well. You know, I complain about the bulkiness of this bumper, but my wife, she loves something about it. The bumper itself, as you can see, sticks out pretty darn far away from the back of the Jeep, right? She loves having this ledge here on the back. When she's working back here to cook or whatever it is on the Trailgator, she loves having this location to set things on. And I'll admit, I set crap back here all the time too when we're camping. It's almost like a little bit of a tailgate back here, the bulkiness of the bumper. So I complain about it, but again, trade-offs, pros and cons. Everything is a compromise, you guys. There's always trade-offs. Something else we changed on the exterior is the rear tail lights. But let me explain why. And again, there's a video on this that I'll link down below as well. I had run into an issue out on a trail where I had backed into some shrubs that were really burly, and they literally broke one of the taillights, the stock taillights. And that was the thing with the stock taillights, is that they stick out on the side pretty far, they stick out back here really far. And you know, if you were going through tight terrain, they would catch twigs and branches over here on the side. And as you can see, the Oracle taillight is nice flush mounted light. Now, the reverse light is also much brighter than the stock light. Something else on the exterior that we still use are the TrailRax, and we have them on the driver's side to carry our fuel, and we have these on the passenger side to carry our water. Honestly, if there was another way to carry that stuff, I'd use it, but this is the best thing we've found for the JLU, and it's working. I can't complain. I wish I could carry more fuel and more water, because we're only doing 2 gallon, so 4 gallons of gas and 4 gallons of water. I wish I could carry like 10 gallons of water and 10 gallons of gas extra if I could. But you know, this solution has worked for us so far. I think we've only had one situation where we came into town running on fumes coming out of Death Valley, section of Death Valley. But other than that, we plan accordingly. We know about how many miles we can go depending on whether we're in 4 high, 4 low, 2-wheel drive. And so you got to plan accordingly, and it's better than nothing. So let's take a second and talk about the roof rack. This has gone through an evolution for us, and I want to explain why. As you can see today, we're using nothing more than 3 crossbars. And what these are is the Rhino Rack Vortex bars anchored down to the Rhino Rack backbone system. We're still using the backbone system. That's treated us really well. From the very beginning, if I go all the way back, and there are videos on this that I'll link below too, we started with the ARS rack system, Adventure Rack Systems. Phenomenal rack, bomber rack, attaches to the rear bumper, attaches to the front cowl, gave us a catwalk, gave us a platform up here. We used to put our ground tent up here, our roam box, carry other things up here as well. It was fantastic, and it's meant to carry a lot of weight. But here's the problem. It's a very heavy rack, and we don't want to carry a lot of weight up here, right? So we're trying to get the weight down, and that has been a problem for us from the beginning, is trying to put the Jeep on a diet for really good nimble 4-wheel drive capabilities, while at the same time being able to overland. It's difficult. It's a balancing act. You're walking tightrope between, I need everything I need to overland, but at the same time I'm trying to keep the weight down. Now, we went from that ARS rack, we got rid of that to get the weight down, and we moved to the backbone system from Rhino Rack along with their Pioneer platform, and that shed a ton of weight. Now the Pioneer platform, again, we were carrying a ground tent, we were carrying our roam box, you know, other things up here, and that worked out for us really, really well for a long time. And then we decided to try out a rooftop tent, and that's what led us to this. Now, let me explain why we're using crossbars. With a rooftop tent, you could actually have the Pioneer platform up here and put the rooftop tent on top of that. Why would you do that? Your Pioneer platform really isn't doing anything for you, and it's adding quite a bit of additional weight, 45 pounds at least, I think it is, or something like that. So what we did was we shed the 45 pounds, went to the Vortex bars, which weigh almost nothing. They're aluminum bar, and then they've got a rubber trim here to make things a little bit grippy. But you shed the 45 pounds and then you put the rooftop tent on. Now, we did a bunch of math from the very beginning to get ourselves to this point. And frankly, what we've been able to do is keep the weight almost the same, very minimal change, and we're able to support a rooftop tent up here. I'll put the math up, and I'll put some diagrams here to show you how we did that. So the combination of the Vortex bars and the rooftop tent up here, you take off your ground tent, you take off your roam box, you take off the other things you were carrying up here, like your tools, the shovel, the axe, all these other things, and you put the rooftop tent up here. We've effectively kept the weight about the same, and we can support the rooftop tent, and that's worked out really, really well for us. But then people say, hey Jeff, where do your dogs sleep if you're in a rooftop tent? Do they sleep up in there with you? I get this question a lot. And where they sleep now is right in here on their platform. So this is something we started with from the very beginning, and this is the cargo dog storage and platform. And this is fantastic because I've got a space here to store all of the dog items and things like that, as well as some other things, straps, etc. On the passenger side, I store all of our recovery gear. You can see we've got the kinetic rope in here. We've got our controller for our winch. We've got a winch blanket, a winch line blanket. I've got tree saver in here, a regular towing strap, soft shackles. I've got a tire plug kit in here, tire patch kit in here. Pretty much everything I need from a recovery perspective. And then there's still a center area here that I can store items in too. So the dogs sleep in here, and this is plenty of space for both golden retrievers in here, and I think they actually like it better. They're incredibly quiet in here and content because they spend most of the day in here too when we're driving, so they're very used to it. So while we're talking about this area in the back where the dogs stay at night, there's something else that we added back here as well, which is called a thin skins door panel cover. And this is a cover that goes right over the top, and as you can see, you can't even really tell that's a cover, but it snaps on right over the top of your stock covers, and it protects the interior door panel. So from dog slobber and things that may get all over this, you know, if they want to put a paw in here to stand on it or something like that, or put their paws up here, they're not scratching up the stock interior at all. And this thing holds up incredibly well. It's durable, it pops on, it pops off very easily. So thin skins, those have been clutch for us. Something else that was an addition is this attic that you see above, and this is right above where the dogs ride and sleep. And what we store up there are things like our pillows, we store rumpled blankets up there, just whatever we need, our coats, whatever we're taking camping. And this attic has been a really cool addition to the top of the Jeep because it's just wasted space up there, and let's face it, in the Jeep you don't have a lot of space. Something else that we've added in the interior is this Molly panel from American Adventure Labs, right to the top of the American Adventure Labs shelf. And that allows us to molly some items up. You can see we've got our first aid kit up here right now, other items that we can molly up here. And it also prevents things on the shelf from sliding off onto the dogs in the back of the Jeep. And this has been really, really good. My only considered thing here is I wish it would have been even a little bit taller, to be honest with you. There's still, you know, roughly 3 inches of space here that we probably could have consumed at least 2 of it with another row or 2 of molly. But you know what, it's actually quite good. Something else that we added back here is our Charger 1, and this is in addition from the original build, along with the switch to be able to turn it off and on here. So this allows us to keep our AC 180 completely topped off when we're camping. and it charges incredibly fast compared to just trying to charge out of a 12-volt connector, you know, like a cigarette lighter or something like that. Something else that was an addition from the original build is the fire extinguisher. This is a clutch spot for the fire extinguisher, and I literally mounted this right to the inside of the backbone system from Rhino Rack. So as you can see, we're using their quick release as well, with the nice big lever right here. And let's see if I can do this with one hand. I'm not sure if I can. Oh, there we go. And you see that pops right off. And now I have my fire extinguisher. Wow, that's impressive. I didn't know if I could do that with one hand or not. Let's see if I can put it back up with one hand as well. Oh yeah. Anyway, that's incredibly secure. And it's a full-blown fire extinguisher instead of just relying on the little element extinguisher. So for peace of mind, this has been a really good addition since the original build. So let's talk a little bit about the cockpit and what we kept the same and what we've added here since that original build. So as you can see, we're still using the bullet point mounting system for the phones. And I think they call this the Ruby mount or something like that. Again, I'll put a link to it below, but for our mount, our radio, 2 phones, and a GoPro on the dash. We also use their mount for the iPad here, and those we have never changed. That's been there since the beginning. Something else that's been here since the beginning is my dead pedal. That dead pedal, again, gives yourself a spot for your left foot to sit while you're driving for comfort. And I got that from Quadratech, which has been clutch. We haven't changed that at all. That's still the same. And the other thing, a couple other things we haven't changed is we still have the Desert Does It seat jackers to help tilt the seat back slightly. Or I should say more than tilt the seat back, it really just raises the front of it for comfort to get some weight support under your legs here, especially when you're going down a steep hill. This gives you a much more anchored position to sit in. And we still, of course, use the Kraken tire inflation system. So that hasn't changed either. Those are items that we've had since the beginning, and it's been really, really good. Now, what has changed in the cockpit, you may see, is that we have a Molly Panel Systems Molly above our heads here between the driver and the passenger. I keep one of my air tools there for airing down, which is pretty nice. It allows me to air down with the apex valves really, really quickly. And I put this on here so that I could literally mount my GoPro for easy access. Snaps on, snaps out, and that works really, really good. Okay, moving to the back of the Jeep. So a couple things you'll see that haven't changed since the beginning. We're still using our Trailgator fold down table. And of course that has the cutting board as well. That's come in really handy. We have used this, and there's only one complaint we have about this that has been a bit of, well, it's not even really that big of a deal or a bummer, but Noelle does kind of drive her nuts, is you'll see the bottom drawer as it comes out is going to make contact with the cable here. And even if it wasn't the cable, this high point right here is going to hit the bottom of the drawer. And the only way to deal with that would be to try and get the drawer itself lifted up higher off the platform. But you don't have a lot of room to work with when you have this many drawers back here in the shelf. You'd have to move the shelf up even higher. So has it been a real problem? Not terribly, because what we do is we usually only store things in the very back of the drawer that we don't need to get to when the table is down, and that allows us to never have a conflict going on there usually. So just something to point out, if you're using the Trailgator and you want to use the American Adventure Labs drawer system, there's going to be a bit of an issue here. Now, American Adventure Labs does make their own table back here. I don't know whether that has a conflict with the drawer system or not. We just had never tried it. Maybe that's a solution for that problem. Not really sure. Now, we still, from the beginning, we've been using the American Adventure Labs platform, their drawer system. We have 2 big drawers and 1 small drawer, and then we're still using their slightly wider slider here as well for the fridge. And this is something where you can see here, it's impossible to open with just one hand. That's kind of a problem, but they do make bars that go across so you can push it with one hand and open the drawers and the slider with one hand. It's something we've talked about getting to help improve us as well, and we may still do that. I just haven't pulled the trigger on that. The other thing that you'll see above that I already pointed out, the MOLLE panel system, but we're also using their shelf as well, American Adventure Lab shelf. I just had a question on this recently, who makes it, because this is a great area to be able to store things up here. It's a lot of area in the back of the Jeep right here to store things. The other thing that we've been using from the beginning that we haven't changed is the XG cargo bags. We still use these to this day and store different things in here as needed for camping. Bear spray, you know, you need all your essentials in here. I think we keep the hose for our propane in this side, as well as some other cooking items and stuff like that, because this is kind of the cooking area back in this corner. So those have been very handy, and frankly, yeah, we love being able to use that frankly wasted space that for something functional. It's very, very useful. I'm still using the light that I originally installed back here on the tailgate. You can see the 3M tape is kind of a little bit come off right there in the corner, but frankly, it's still holding really, really well all the way along here. And that light has been really, really good for cooking and things back here. Now, we have since made a change to the awning. I'll talk about that in a little bit more, but the awning itself has lights too, where that maybe not be quite so necessary, but let's say you want to do something back here and not have the awning out and you still want a light up there. We really like having that light up there. It's really, really good. All right, one change we did make back here to the camp kitchen area is the fridge. We used to use a Dometic fridge, and you'll see that in some of our old videos. And the problem with the Dometic fridge is that it opened this way, like a big giant clamshell opening up this direction. And the problem with that is that if you tried to open it all the way, it would hit the door up here or where we're storing our paper towels currently, and it wouldn't stay open. Whereas this, you can open it and it stays open, and now you can use both hands to go in here, retrieve whatever you need to get. And the other thing that it does is it opens from the other direction as well. So if I'm over here wanting to get something, I don't have to disturb Noelle over there in the camp kitchen area. I can come in here and grab something. And so switching to the IceCo has been really good for us for just that reason. Another addition that we didn't have before is going to be this paper towel holder, which literally just suction cups right to the actual glass of the rear tailgate. And that has been really good. And this is from American Adventure Labs as well. So what are we not using back here that we used to use? So you may remember we used to store a Dometic water jug right here in this area. And I used to run a tube all the way along, and it came along and kind of attached to the tailgate right here. And we had a faucet that we would mount in this location. Well, we're not using that jug anymore. Now we still can, there's no reason why we can't, but we just don't use it very often. Instead, we're putting a faucet directly into the Rotopacks themselves and just using it, and it's a little bit simpler. We may still end up using that Dometic. I'm just saying we don't use it nearly as often as we used to. Now, underneath, we're still using the Metal Cloak skid plate system under here. Engine skid, transmission skid, differential skid plates on the shock mounts and things like that. So we haven't changed anything there. There is one additional piece that I want to talk about because people have asked, and that is, do you use a taser? In the beginning, I used the taser to address the tire size and our gear change on the differentials from what we had 488s to 513s. And that was very useful, but I was told at one point that if I have the taser in the Jeep when I take it to the dealership, they could void my warranty. So I bought a programmer. I actually programmed those things into the computer and stopped using the taser. But I missed not being able to turn off the auto start stop function and things like that. So something I did do that I need to address since the first build is I removed fuse 42, I disconnected the auxiliary battery, and I put the taser back in so that I could turn off the auto start stop. I could override the electronic sway bar issues, and a few other things as well. You know, address the gear ratio, tire size, and things like that. There's a couple of other features that I'm using as well with the taser, but I am using the taser again. So for those of you that asked in the past, hey, do you use a taser? Yes, the answer is I am using the taser again. So that addresses some of the changes we've made since that original build and that original build video. And some of the things, a lot of things that we've kept the same. Hopefully this is helpful for some of you guys to look back, retrospective, 18 months of experience with the products we had and things we've changed to try and make improvements and why we've done it. But yeah, I'll be the first to say we're probably not done. There is something I'd really like to check out for the rooftop tent solution. We'll see if we get to that this year or not. I hope you guys found this video somewhat useful. I really wanted to get you guys up to date because I felt like for those of you that were going back and looking at that video from 18 months ago, it didn't truly represent what we were using today. And I was very uncomfortable with that situation. So now you're up to speed on what we're using, the improvements we've made, why we've made them. Again, if you have feedback on the things that we're doing, put that down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. You guys have given us good feedback and good suggestions in the past. So keep them coming. And I hope to see you guys next time. All right, the elephant in the room. Yeah, I ate it again on the mountain bike. Wasn't as bad as last time. No busted pelvis, no broken collarbone, but I did break, I fractured and displaced the radial, what do they call it? It's in the elbow joint, basically. And so I'll be going to the orthopedic surgeon on Monday to find out whether that needs surgery to repair, because it is displaced by 4 millimeters right in the joint. So I'm not gonna quit mountain biking. I don't care what you guys say. I love it too much. And I know I say it keeps me healthy. This doesn't look healthy, but if I wasn't mountain biking, I'd be having a lot of other issues.